I shared with the women at the gathering that most of my life I have felt such a pull towards the generations coming up after me, and that hasn't changed through the years. It's always such a privilege and joy to speak into the generations and lives that will be fulfilling the purposes of God long after me. But I have felt in the last 8 months, year, I begin to feel my heart turning towards women my age and those older, those before me. And I'm feeling equally as grateful to speak into their lives and reminding them that God is not done with their story. And as I love to say, if you woke up with breath in your body this morning, your story is still being written. A few weeks ago, I was going through the study with the group of creatives that are in their 20s. And I can't remember where we were exactly at in the study and what prompted the thought at that time. I'm sure it had something to do with living the life that we were designed and created to live and about seasons. But what popped in my mind that morning that I decided to get their opinion about and their thoughts, I wanted to hear their thoughts about it, was about a video that had popped up in my YouTube feed in the previous week. And I honestly don't even know why I clicked on this video. It's not something I'm subscribed to, but obviously there was something in the title that made me want to click. So I'm watching this woman. I'm guessing now from what the conversation was that she was either in her late 20s, early 30s, but she was sharing about how her and her group of friends or peers were having this discussion about the anxiety, the tension, the unsettledness that they all were feeling as they were transitioning out of their 20s and into their 30s, because basically she was sharing about how they all were feeling like they were leaving the prime of their life. And so what that was going to look like to move into their 30s. Now, I'm going to be honest. When I started hearing what I just shared of their discussion about being fearful and moving out of the prime of their life, I literally thought that this was a satire video and that this was a joke. And I kept watching because I was confused, because this woman was like so professional and the video was so professional. And I glanced down and I saw that she has well over 1 million subscribers. So then I'm like, okay, this is not a joke. This woman is serious about this. So I didn't watch the whole video, but I did watch for a little longer. But I could not believe it. I could not believe that she was so seriously verbalizing the things that she was verbalizing. And I think it is just because it was just so far from my mindset around aging. So later that evening, I was talking to my husband about it, and he reminded me, he's like, Susan, when we were that age, we thought the same thing. You know, you're thinking you're in your 20s and it's the prime of your life. And so I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. I think I'm just so far removed from that I just could not even relate to what she was talking about and their concern. So this particular morning, Saturday morning, I decided to bring this up with the group of girls that are mostly in their 20s. Like I said, a few younger, a few older. And I shared with them what I just shared with you and said, so what do y'all think about that? I mean, this is around a lot of you are in your 20s. So what do you think about this? Do you feel like you're in the prime of your life? And is this your mindset? To which most of them admitted that this was their mindset. Although they were also pretty clear that they were hoping that this wasn't the prime of their life. So yes, they were admitting that is what everybody talks about and the way they should feel, but yet also holding the tension of, I hope to God this is not the prime of my life. And so my oldest daughter was in the room because she's actually a leader in this particular group of dancers, and she's in her early 30s. And she began to share with the group that she remembers that when she was in her 20s, that her mindset was along those lines of thinking, yeah, this is, the best time of my life. And feeling the tension though of, okay, I feel like I'm still trying to fully step into who I am, you know, tension of finding and standing fully in her identity and God and the plans and purposes for her life. So, as much as it did feel like a wide open space to explore and to have fun and freedom in so many ways, there also was this tension of unsettledness and searching for really who they were and longing for this place of contentment. And it's hard to describe, but yet here's where I went with that. As I'm listening to my daughter share this, I noticed something when I heard her talking about her 20s. It sounded so familiar to me. And what was interesting with that I then shared with the group, my daughter was single most of her 20s. And so she's having fun running around, exploring her creativity, crafting her skill, building a business. And as she even said, feeling in the tension of authentically then being grounded and fully standing in who God made her to be, and that being the foundation of her identity and every relationship and every part of her life. What stood out to me as I was hearing her share all that about her life was how my life in my 20s was pretty much the opposite of hers. I married early in my 20s and was immediately on a church staff and being looked to as a leader by the youth and children we were leading, as well as their parents and other church members. A few years into marriage, we began having kids, which all of this was good and it was beautiful and I loved it, but it was a lot. And I realized that even though my storyline was totally different than my daughter's, I too felt the same tension that she felt, almost like I was struggling to find my footing. It was almost like looking back, I feel like I was living out these roles that I was in and trying to catch up to all that these roles were demanding and asking of me. So life in my 20s felt as unsettled and held as much tension in my life as it did my daughter's. Yet our storyline was totally different. And as I shared that with the room, I felt like most of the girls in the room could relate to that, of this unsettledness. And I can see how the point of how life in our 20s can be a season that offers us more freedom and flexibility for exploring interest and having the ability to try different things and just live a different way, because you don't yet have the responsibility of others depending on you, and you can, risk in a different way, and you don't have the same time constraints that come with growing a family. So as the conversation continued, I said something as I was just processing out loud that caused me, and I heard myself say it caused me to understand why I feel like I do about getting older. Because I made the statement almost like a declaration to them when we were talking about this, feeling like the prime is your 20s. I made the statement. I said, I feel more alive and like I'm living the life that God designed and purposed for me more than ever before in my life. And like those young women sitting in the room and like you listening, we all, when we're younger, we have these ideas and certain thoughts and ideas of how someone feels at a particular age. You look at somebody in their 30s and their 40s and the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and we all have like, oh, this is what, when we look at them in their life, we think this is what they feel like. This is what their worldview is. This is how they're operating in life and their mindset. And what's interesting, as you get older, you get to that particular age and realize, oh, I don't feel like what I thought my mom felt like in this age. When I was looking at this particular person and I was thinking, oh, this is their age, this is the way they feel in life, I don't feel anything like that. And so I have found that at each age I've gotten, I can't relate to what I assumed that age felt like. And another thing that's kind of funny is when I was younger, I thought that there was going to be this certain age where I would feel mature in every way and I would have all of the answers to all of the questions. And thankfully, at some point, I realized that that's not the case. And I also realized that that's not a negative thing, that I never felt like that at some point. Because what I realized, and something that is just such a beautiful gift in how God created us, is that we were created to grow. We were created to go. You and I were created to grow. And I realized that's why I continue to be excited about getting older. And each and every season, I look forward to it with excitement because I'm still learning and I'm still growing into who God designed and purposed me to be. And his image is being revealed more fully season by season.